What is up, world? You are in tune to the Marvelous Podcast, and you got your favorites here. Big G, what's popping, man? How you doing?
Man, what's popping, man? It's cold and wintry and all kind of other stuff here, getting close to that East Coast. But we got to get that Saturday marvelous talk in, man, for all our listeners and viewers.
Got to get that Saturday morning Marvelous Talk in, man. And as always, if you like the content, make sure that you like and subscribe. Hit us up right here. Ask us anything that you want. But today, man, we got some really good stuff that we want to talk about leading up to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We want to kind of give you some history. And we want you to be prepared for when you see this movie because the movie is going to be a lot, man. But before we get into that, let's definitely get into this. And once again, like I said, man, we're definitely at it, man, trying to talk to you about what's going on here in the Marvel Universe, the MCU. So right now, look, man, if you're keeping score and you've been watching all of the all of the intros and all of the things getting ready up leading up into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, you'll notice that we have a Wanda Maximoff sighting. And I'm going to tell you something about Wanda Maximoff. Wanda Maximoff, as a character, has been developed throughout several different movies. We had her first in Age of Ultron. Then we saw her in Civil War. Then Endgame and Infinity Wars. Of course, she played big parts there. And then in WandaVision. And a lot of her character that you've seen with Wanda, you've got a lot to know about a lot of her trauma, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of her story has dealt with loss. In the Age of Ultron, she lost her brother, right? Well, let's go back before that. Her story, her parents were lost to a Stark missile, right? Then after that,
her supposed parents, but
her
let's just keep
supposed
going.
parents were lost
Yeah.
to a Stark missile. Then after that, she lost her brother in Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
And then she, hooked up with Vision, and Vision Boo became, and then she lost Vision in Infinity Wars. So she lost Vision in Infinity Wars, and after she lost Vision in Infinity Wars, now we're here in WandaVision. So give us a
Right.
little bit about that.
She created also fictitious kids and a fictitious vision and a fictitious world, and lost them too because she knew that she just couldn't have them. So she's dealt with, like you said, trauma all the way across, man.
Trauma all the way across. So now this character that you've seen is a hardened version of the woman who had a good heart when she touched the casket that Ultron was making, right? This isn't that same little girl, right?
Right.
This isn't that same little girl. And she's not the same that was like crazy that was trying to take out the whole team of Avengers by herself. So she ain't that kind of crazy, but she ain't that kind of soft. So we're gonna pick up. I mean, like I said, she lost her brother. There's her and her twin. Definitely, this is her stepping into who she is and knowing how strong she is. This was one of those first steps. And then, of course, there's her and Vision. There's her and
Yeah.
Vision. And this is where we left Wanda. This is where Wanda is right now. Wanda's in some dark places in that dark hole. And Big G, pick it up. Give me a little bit of history on Wanda Maximoff.
Well, I'm a. Everybody knows that I love comic books, man, and that's where I started with these characters even before they hit the big screen. So to talk about Wanda Maximoff or the Scarlet Witch, you got to have some type of reference point from the comic book standpoint of where she is and how she started. You know, Wanda Maximoff first jumped off or first showed up in the comic books in the 1960s and X-Men event number 4, where she was, pretty much recruited by Magneto to become a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and fight against the X-Men, right? And then, we see her go through that whole thing with the Brotherhood, and then all of a sudden you see her and her brother sort of become like these anti-heroes because they feel the newest Avengers team up with a bunch of anti-heroes, So it was Hawkeye and Swordsman and her brother Quicksilver and, Wanda Maximoff, right? And then you see her go through the 60s and the 70s and even into the 80s, she becomes this superhero that almost becomes a core member of the second rendition of the Avengers team. And in that process, she has a relationship with Vision, who is a sensozoid that was created by Henry Pym in the comic book rendition, but on the big screen, he's created by Bruce Banner and Tony Stark. But then, her and Vision go through this whole thing, and we'll talk about it more and more about her with the kids and what happens. But Wanda's character development, what I'm trying to get out or just lay out from this beginning segue, is just to talk about how, from the comic books, X-Men number 4 through like Avengers number 5 or number 6, and I think that's the comic book I got up here on the wall, right? Wanda Maximoff has been a part of the MC or the Marvel comic book rendition from that time forward. So it makes sense to have her have this huge character build up leading into what we're going to see on the big screen from the beginning, just like how she sort of did in the comic books.
So tell me this, G. So we're here, right? And most people feel like that Wanda is, if we're going for the average comic book head's perspective, they feel like that Wanda, with the Brotherhood of Mutants, she was Magneto's daughter. Give us a little talk on that, man. Talk to us about that.
Well, the issue is, let's say I'm going to jump to the end and the beginning. The issue is, and I'm telling y'all, and I'm telling you, going to see it on the big screen, Wanda Maximoff is not Magneto's daughter. That was folklore, that was in the comic book and in the history of the comic book forever. But the issue was in the 2015 to 2017 run of Avengers Disassembled, you find out that Wanda Maximoff is actually not Magneto's daughter. Her last name is Maximoff. Her mother's last name is Maximoff, and her grandfather's last name is Maximoff. But what they come from is a lineage of sorcerer supremes that dwell in the Wendigo Mountains. And for all you comic book heads that know what's coming, that's all got the high evolutionary written all over it. So they come from that area. And in all actuality, Wanda Maximoff's grandfather was the Scarlet Warlock, which was a Nexus being and an all-powerful sorcerer that they used the color of scarlet because other witches and warlocks thought that it was bad luck. So Wanda Maximoff's Scarlet Witch, Scarlet Centaurian, and even more so, her grandfather fought Agatha Harkness back in the day in the comic book. So I think you've seen a little rendition of that already played out somewhat in the whole WandaVision scenario. And I think it's going to be even moving forward where you're going to see it in the Heart of Harkness with Agatha Harkness and her character, because you're going to get backdrop stories where she's been fighting, magical beings or witches and warlocks all throughout this whole process.
Yeah, I believe so too, man, because you got to think about it. Her taking the Darkhold and beginning to start, flipping through it and using her astral projection self to act up. I mean, that's scary.
Yeah,
that's scary for her to be that powerful. And she doesn't have the formal training, right? But she comes from the pedigree. So she got that type of pedigree to be able to do these things, but she don't have the know-how or the fear of not doing the right thing. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Because she,
It's that old adage, she's a relative by blood, but not family because she really doesn't know who she is. And the
yeah,
crazy
man,
part is Agatha called it out in the WandaVision. She said, "Oh my God, you're the Scarlet Witch." So Agatha had a reference point based on what we saw in the MCU of who she was, because she had fought like her grandfather and them, who was the Scarlet Warlock, who's a Maximoff that come from Wintergore. And so just FYI too, Mon, and this just for our viewers, if you get an opportunity, go back and watch WandaVision, because there was clues all throughout of it. And they were saying that was Doctor Strange trying to talk to her, but what he was laying down clues was showing, hey, look, you come from this lineage. He was giving hints of the high evolutionary. He was giving hints of the cow that raised her. He was talking about she was from Wendigo Mountains. And in the last episode, you see her dwelling in this mountain place. So it's almost like an instinctual animal that goes back to where they're really from, to dwell and live and breathe and do whatever else. And I think you're going to see that in the multiverse of man.
yeah, I think so too. And I think as we, like I said, as we progress, you have to understand who she has been in
Yeah.
order to kind of understand where she's going, right?
Yeah.
And there's some scenes I believe that you'll see inside of the multiverse of madness that will actually make all of that stuff make sense. But here's the thing I want to ask, and this is what we really wanted to talk about today. Why is she so important to Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness? Why is Wanda Maximoff so important that she is co-star of this movie? This is not just Doctor Strange. This is Doctor Strange and her movie. This is them two together. You know what I mean? She's Starsky and Hutch. She's the sidekick. One of them is a sidekick. We don't know who is, but talk to us about that.
Well, that's something that we've been saying on Marvelous, man, for like months and months and months. We stumbled onto, I don't know if we stumbled onto, but I know I was in the rabbit hole. I know Maud and Dame, shout out to Dame. We was talking about people developing this whole anti-hero analog of characters at the beginning of Phase 4. And we saw that develop on the Disney Plus shows, and now full big bad anti-hero, which just means they're not good or bad, and which really means that they're selfish or about themselves, right? And we saw that even play out on the cartoon rendition or version of What If, because we saw multiple different versions of multiple different things. And that's what I think that's going to happen with Wanda, because her character has been built from the beginning of the MCU to where she was, if you remember at the beginning, she was fighting for Hydra. And then she switched and she was fighting for the Avengers. And then she got to the end and she was fighting because she was mad because she lost Vision. And then she became self-centered. And now she's this character that is just with so much loss and grief, like we set it up on our at the beginning of the show, because she wants her children, right? And these children, for y'all that don't know, are not real. They are like not necessarily figments of her imagination, but they are inside of a universe or a multiverse that she built that was a perfect place for her and Vision to live and dwell. So Wanda is the theme of what you're going to see moving forward, where you're not going to see people necessarily good or bad across the board. And that includes Stephen Strange, because there's nobody that you're going to see moving forward that is beyond being what you would deem good or what you would deem being bad. They're all sort of going to be in that anti-hero vein, if that makes sense.
I mean, Big G, right? They got to be, because the anti-heroes are darker characters, right? So because they're darker characters, they almost all have to have some good side and some bad. If you want to know what an anti-hero is, Venom is a perfect anti-hero, and they built that up to you where you can see it. Ghost Rider, perfect anti-hero. You know what I mean? Does some bad, does some bad stuff, but redemptive qualities all the same, right?
Blade.
I was about to go to Blade. Blade's
Wesley
another
Snipes, man.
yeah. another anti-hero. But so in order for, and it's kind of funny that they went back and kind of started back at the beginning of Marvel again, because at the beginning of Marvel movies was Blade, and it was darker than it was. It just became really, really light. They got everybody in, and now they done bought in, and we're back to where we started again, right? It's almost
Yes.
like it's a natural reboot. But honestly, at this point, you're seeing Wanda, and Wanda is what type of being in the MCU? Why is she important? Talk to us, man. What is she? What's going to be her role here?
All right. So we've been talking about this on our show probably for months about what a nexus being actually is and what they have the capability of doing, right? A nexus being is so dangerous and so powerful is because they have the ability to create or destroy multiple different universes across a multiple different spectrum. And they have the ability, or their character is the same person throughout all the different multiverses and different locations and places. So Wanda Maximoff is Wanda Maximoff or the Scarlet Witch in every version of the multiverse that exists out there. She's the same person. Now, is her power scale high or her power scale low? Yeah, it's different in different universes, but she's a nexus being, which means that she has the ability to basically sync herself up, for lack of better words, and show herself across all the universes. So you might have Wanda Maximoff, who's the 616 universe, or what they call in the MCU, on the big screen, and she syncs up with a Wanda Maximoff that's a being in another universe and gives her all the knowledge, information, and understanding from this point to that point. So knowing that, now Wanda becomes the most dangerous thing out there in the MCU if you want to continue to have the multiverse. She can break it and she can make it. So we're talking about like power level and ability to do and create and stop, and her powers and what she can and can't do, because she has telekinesis, she has teleportation, she can do a psychic mind manipulation. So she does a lot of different stuff. So that character now can be multiple different levels and multiple different locations at multiple different times. So you got like her fighting against like a Kang, who can be in all these different realities as well, who's a Nexus being. So super, super powerful. And that's why I think we're going with one. I think you're going to see, if you ever saw the evilest version of Wanda Maximoff, I think we're going to see it in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of
You
Madness.
know, gee, I don't think we're going to see the evilest version. I think we're going to see the worst version of Doctor Strange. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I don't think we'll see. I think here's what I think we're going to get from Wanda. I think she's going to plant seeds, and she's going to do some stuff that's like off rip, that's going to, infest her later. We're going to see like it pay off in another movie later. You know what I'm saying? And I think she kind of stays on the path of righteousness, so to speak, on this one, because of the simple fact that, she just came out of here and traumatizing in a whole group, a whole city worth of people. So I think she kind of walks the line here. But I also think that she starts to look for her children. I really believe
Well,
that. You know what I'm
I think
saying?
I think Wanda in the Multiverse of Madness is the big bad. I mean, I think you're going to see Shuma Gorath, who's a Nexus being that goes from universe to universe, right? I know for a fact we've already seen her in the trailer. You're going to see America Chavez, who is a super Nexus being, who has the
Mhm.
ability to keep her same consciousness and same body and go through different universes, which is just unbelievable. But I really think when it's all said and done, and this is just my early call, I really think and feel that Wanda Maximoff, or the Scarlet Witch, is the big bad of that movie. If there is a big bad and there's a villain, I think it's Wanda. And I think a lot of it has to do with her supposedly quote unquote children, right? Which is a whole complex story as well. It's not just Tommy and Billy. It's a whole bunch going on with them,
But we know we gotta have them for the team ups that we got coming.
man. Yeah.
So obviously at some point Tommy and Billy are gonna be real.
Yeah,
How that happens, we don't know. How she gets back. I mean, there's still a lot of unanswered questions, you guys.
yeah.
For our listeners and everybody who's watching, if you have, I keep saying it, if you have not went back and watched WandaVision, you're cheating yourself because
Yeah.
there's so much that's going on. You need to know all of these TV series that we've gotten from Marvel. You're definitely gonna have to connect them together like parts in order to be able to understand what's going on in the movies moving forward.
Right.
He's
And
done, they've done a great job of of leaving breadcrumbs and then picking
yeah,
up on the breadcrumbs. The writers have, really, because it's different writers for each film, and
yeah,
they've done a really, really solid job on taking what you didn't know or what you saw from previous episodes
yeah.
or previous movies and putting that together and making it all work.
Well, and the great thing about that too, Mod, is that because they're on Disney Plus, you don't have to do like how most or the big fans that like this type of stuff. We had to wait week to week because they're on Disney Plus. You can now sit and watch all of them in one setting, so it'll make sense to you. Because if you watch the first 1, 2, or 3 episodes of WandaVision, you're gonna be like, man, how in the world does this connect to the Avengers? But if you were able to watch it all the way through, you understand that all they were doing was just setting up a world that Wanda created based on her being a Nexus being and having the ability to create her own universe. Because at the end, you find out Agatha Harkness was like, how in the world was you able to do this and cast this spell? I've been doing this stuff forever, and you got the ability to do it just off the rip, off of like muscle memory. So that's the good thing about watching, like going back and watching WandaVision. You get to understand that they build up a whole world or a whole universe, which is Wanda's little small microcosm in a couple of episodes. So that's what I like about Disney Plus, and
Yeah,
the plot links tie it together, but they build all brand new stuff based on what we already know.
yeah, man, definitely, definitely. So we've got this whole thing with Wanda, and you got to realize, like I said, with Wanda, she is crucial, and
Yeah,
and I really believe that she's learning from America Chavez this movie on how to be able to do some of the things that she wants to do. Because you got to imagine she's gonna want to move in between the universes to find her children, her quote unquote children. You got to
yeah.
imagine she's gonna want that, right? But
So
we
I got
got
a question. Is she going to want to learn from America Chavez, or is she going to want to steal from America Chavez, like Agatha Harkness wanted to steal from Wanda? Because what I think is she gonna want to steal from her and absorb her powers, like
but
Wanda absorbed
she
Agatha's
doesn't
powers.
have to. She doesn't have to though. And she took Agatha's powers because Agatha was crazy. You know what I'm
So
saying?
we think. So we think. So we think. I Agatha, I think, is an anti-hero too. That's just what I'm thinking. Why else would they go in to have Agatha, the House of Harkness? Agatha is the anti-hero too. I'm telling you. Wanda, that Darkhold is evil, man.
The Dark
That
Hole is a
Darkhold
bad
is
book.
evil.
The Dark
Yeah,
Hole is a bad book. We know that the Dark Hole is a bad book. But man, I have a hard time wrapping my head around Agatha Harkness being a good person
yeah,
after what she did to her parents. You know what I'm saying? I
yeah.
mean, I have a hard time. I have a hard time with that.
But Maud, in the comic book, Agatha Harkness is the nanny for Franklin Richards for years. I
This is
mean,
true. This is
so how
true.
can she not be? The Fantastic Four welcomed her into their home and into their house. She runs with the Fantastic Four from the time Franklin is a little bitty small
A little
baby
baby pup.
until he's
Yeah.
like grown,
Yeah,
right?
man. Yeah, man. But
So how can
but
she not
still,
be?
it's where we're seeing it right now. Just her evolution. I don't know that. I don't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello, thank you for watching. Definitely, I
Oh,
was trying to figure out your name. It's Phil Sue. I guess that's what that is. Thank you
Yeah, I
for
don't want
thank
to
you for
mispronounce
tuning
it,
in
but
with us.
I don't want to mispronounce it. But we definitely appreciate you coming out with us on a Saturday.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, like I said, man, I don't got it for Agatha, man. I just don't got it for Agatha.
Yeah.
Agatha just, I don't see. I want to kind of give her some kudos. I just can't do it though. I can't do it. Like,
Right. But see also, and I get it and I understand it because you've been a comic book head, but not like the rabbit hole comic book head. So the concept of the anti has been with me from the beginning. So when I first saw him up on the big screen, and we're talking about Iron Man and Thor and Captain America, I was like, man, when are they going to go dark? Because they know that that's been at the premise of Marvel comic books forever. Like when they was selling, I mean, people got to remember the X-Men was not like heroes. They were hunted. They were anti. They were people didn't understand what they was. They were mutants. They were evil. They was this and that and this. So that's been at the heart of this thing from the beginning. So I'm like, okay, now Kevin Feige's really trying to sit down and build this thing out so people to understand and know that there are good and bad. So let me say this about like how we think and feel as far as our society, right? In our society, we live in my opinion, even more now than ever, a polarized society. We live in a society where we think and feel everything has got to be black or white. It's got to be good or bad. And what we do is we view stuff black, white, good, bad issues. And in all actuality, things are really more in a dichotomous way of thinking, things are really more gray, right? Everybody's got a little bit of good and a little bit of bad in them. It just depends on the scenario and the situation. And that's what Marvel was trying to do with comic books a long time ago, right? So I think that's what you're going to see. I think Kevin Feige is going to fall in that same line of Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, and make things a little bit more gray than polarizing being black and or white. That's just me.
yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you on this though. When I start to think about that though, I think about the House of M with Wanda, right?
Right,
I think
right.
about the House of M and Wanda being, saying no more mutants at the end
Yeah,
of that, right?
right.
Uh, I can see Wanda kind of blacking out in a way in which that would, change the fabric of what we have. That's why I'm saying when we talk about the multiverse of madness, she
Yeah,
can end this thing and she can get to a place where she can end this thing really, really fast. Talk to me
yeah.
about that, Big G. Talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, Wanda is the epitome of chaos magic. Now, I need people to really pay attention, and this is why these Disney Plus shows are pivotal, right? Already on the trailers for Moon Knight, the guy tells Moon Knight, "I can feel you're full of chaos," right? So you're basically feeling the same magic that Wanda Maximoff is, or something that's different. You've already seen Shang-Chi tap into a different type of magic because his mother was a sorcerer or sorceress. His auntie was a sorceress. So you're seeing him walk down this line or lineage of magic and how important magic and sorcery and all whatever else is as far as this universe. So Wanda being a Nexus being and being like the one that can like change or challenge it, I think Wanda might be the person that just, versus shattering it and making it all go away, I think Wanda's going to be the one that's going to pull it all together. And I don't necessarily see her saying no more mutants, but I think that Wanda's going to be the key to have all of these different things because the stuff that all of us want. We all want the X-Men. We all want different renditions of the Avengers. A lot of people want Tony Stark to come back.
Yeah,
So we all want that stuff back in the MCU. So I think Kevin Feige, once again, and him just being a genius, is going to use Wanda to give us a soft or hard reboot and tie everything back together. And I think that's what Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is. I really
yeah.
do believe that.
Yeah, I think Wanda does bring everything back together because she has that type of ability, right? And
Yeah,
I think that's why we see her as the character we see her and the way that we see her. I think that's why definitely she's going to be one of the most instrumental people in this movie. And I mean, when we see her, over here in this yoga pose, man, and you see behind she has a dark hole going. That book right there, you guys, is not a innocent book.
yeah,
That book has a lot of dark magic in it, and definitely it's impossible for her to be untainted by that. So, I mean, I think there's going to be a constant struggle for good and bad inside of Wanda herself,
yeah,
right? I
yeah,
think Wanda's going to be struggling within good and bad within inside of herself, and I think at the end we're going to see the good win off and pay off for her. But then get this, we already know we're gonna have cameos in this movie, right? So
right.
I'm
Well, we
wondering.
don't, we don't know. We didn't heard a lot. Let's just say that we didn't
Yeah,
heard a
well,
lot.
we know we're gonna have these cameos in it. I mean, when inside movies, I mean, this is not stuff that you can't find out on your own if you just just put it in Google, right?
Yeah,
People who've already seen parts of the movie and a lot of stuff. People saying that there are cameos in here that are going to be big, right?
yeah,
So if they're going to be big cameos, you got to start thinking, how are we going to work all of this in? And just to Big G's point, I think instead of keeping it flushed out and keeping everybody out of our main Marvel universe, I
yeah,
think she is going to make it all one. She's going to
yeah.
make it all set on top of each other.
Right,
So you are going to be able to get the X-Men. You are going to be able to get Fantastic Four. You are going to be able to get all of these other. That's why we're having all of these other people come in to our universe, so that way it's going to all make sense. You know what I'm
right,
saying? I
right. I
think it all
mean,
makes sense at the end.
there's no doubt. I mean, Kevin Feige's already said it himself. He said that if there was a trilogy to be named off of this, the trilogy was WandaVision, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange, and the Multiverse of Madness. You've had trickled stuff from it, from Shang-Chi, from Loki, from What If, and even a little bit about the Eternals. There was some trickled stuff in that too, right? That's all leading to this culminating event, right? And for those, I mean, we could talk about it now. Spider-Man, you talking about the multiverse and the things that we saw in Loki get explored even more. That was like Loki, like when the timeline was cracked, and now you saw Spider-Man actually have timeline people come through the timeline and fighting from Fox Universe, Universal Universe. So now we're to the big event, which is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So we done seen cameos already. Tobey Maguire, Jamie Foxx, we've seen it. So if this movie that's coming is the culminating event, and they're trying to really fix everything, you can just imagine who we might see in this movie from different universes, and at the same time rebooting it. Because remember, at the end of Spider-Man, it was rebooted.
Yeah, it was.
Nobody knew who Peter Parker was, right?
And there's
And he
good and
was
there's
still in
bad
the
that happens. There's good and bad that happens throughout that. Hey, listen, Marvelous Talk fans, I want y'all to think about this. This could happen. This could really happen. You could really see different versions of Deadpool.
could
You
be.
you could absolutely see different versions of Deadpool. You could absolutely see different versions of what if we saw this is good. What if we saw Johnny Storm, right?
Yeah. As Human Torch and as Captain America.
And we saw Johnny Storm, who's
Yeah.
Chris Evans,
Yeah.
right? We see him as the Human Torch, and then see him as Captain America.
I mean, that's why it's called the Multiverse of Madness.
It could
I
be,
mean,
hey, it could be crazy. It could be
right.
crazy.
But I do believe this, and Mod, I do believe this. If you're going to fight a being as powerful as Wanda Maximoff is as the Scarlet Witch, you got to have some type of team up show up to beat her. She's not going down one on one. Now that she's got the dark hole, now that she's in all this chaos magic, Now that she ain't going down 1-on-1, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, 5-on-1. So,
So who would you bring
I think
I mean, think about it. I don't. But honestly, okay, and then we're going after this. But honestly, if we went 1v1, there's nobody on that side. Phoenix couldn't even deal with her.
she get hauled out.
Emma Stone couldn't even deal with her. You know what I'm saying?
Emma Frost would get hauled out.
Emma Frost couldn't even deal with her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody.
Charles Xavier can't deal with her.
Charles Xavier couldn't deal with her. You know, so it's one of those things where I don't see us making. I don't see Kevin Feige making her the enemy because there would be no way to take her out.
Yeah, there would. There would. There would be a certain group of people that if you're a comic book reader, you would understand and know that those folks got to show up. And I think,
well, I've been an Illuminati fan. I've been chanting for the Illuminati this whole time, Sean.
The Illuminati is the ones that can get her. I'm telling you, because you're pulling all resources, effort, and energy. Now, what version of Illuminati? Who knows? But I think that you're going to have multiple people pull together to try to take her out because she's that big or that intimate of a threat. So the only way you can get her is you got to have a bunch of folks team up to get her. Like she makes Thanos look like a scrub, right? I mean, Thanos is like, like the guy that we used to, when we played Mike Tyson Punch Out, Thanos is like the dude that you fought first in Mike Tyson Punch Out that you knew just you'd have to get in there and just do, and then within round one, if you knew how to play the game, he was up out of there, right? That's who Thanos is compared to Wanda Maximoff, right? You got Wanda Maximoff is cold-blooded. The Scarlet Witch or the lineage of the Scarlet is just unbelievable. So I think, and I'm calling it on Marvelous. I'm calling it on the show. I believe that in the Multiverse of Madness, don't be shocked if you see a version of the Illuminati come to the big screen.
Well, you heard it here first. Big G likes to drop them. He likes to drop them, man. But as always, we want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. And this is our first Saturday. Definitely, if you like the content that you heard, make sure you smash that like button, pound that subscribe button. So every time we go live, definitely you will get a notification. Next weekend, we got something special for you on the Saturday morning version of Marvelous. We're definitely going to dive into, and for those of you who have Disney Plus, y'all know that you've been watching Boba Fett. You can't act like you have not been watching Boba Fett. And we're going to dive into Boba Fett and dive into that character on next Saturday. We have a special guest to do that with, and we're going to talk a little Star Wars, to kind of get you guys open. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a Star Wars fan as well as a Marvelous fan. I mean, it is what it is. I'm a Marvel fan and a Star Wars fan. I mean, it is what it is. I can't.
Yeah, I think most people are, because right now, without no Marvel titles out there, most Marvel people are comic book fans is itching and scratching. So they did a good job with the Boba Fett, to give us, something to just carry us over until we're able to see those next versions of Disney Plus and movies come out.
Yeah, super excited. Final shots, G. You got something you want to leave with us?
Yeah, man. I'm just, like I said, I'm really excited about what we're being able to do and present to folks as far as the whole remake or reboot of our show. We're sort of like following the pattern of Marvel, right? So we're remaking and rebooting it, but we're bringing content out there because we could go into things and go into deep dives, and God knows I could bring you down to the rabbit hole and talk for an hour just about one character and who they are and what they're creating. But what we want to do is want to get you guys knowledge and understanding up about these characters so you can have a great movie and television show experience as these shows come out on Disney Plus and the big screen.
Absolutely. Once again, I thank you for rocking with us, man. Until next week, we out.